warahmatullahi. Today we'll continue our lesson on Zakat Fitrah. So basically Zakat Fitrah is an amount compulsory taken from the wealth of an individual Muslim, from him or from any of his dependents. Okay, and when does he needs to pay this amount of wealth? It's compulsory for them, for that individual Muslim or any of his dependents, starting from the end of the set of the last sun on the last Ramadan, with certain conditions. So when does it starts to become compulsory for that individual Muslim or any of his dependent? It starts after the setting of the last sun of the last Ramadan, with certain condition. Meaning prior to that, before that, right, it is still not compulsory. It starts to become compulsory. Dia hanya menjadi wajib after the setting of the last sun of the last Ramadan, the last day of Ramadan, with certain conditions. Okay, of course. And how much is the amount? The amount is 1 gantang. 1 gantang from your staple food of that particular place. And what are the conditions other than, the setting of the last sun of the last Ramadan? Firstly, that person must be a Muslim. Okay, you must be a Muslim in order for you to pay Zakat Fitrah. And then you must be alive. You must be alive at the last day of Ramadan. Meaning after Ramadan. After the setting of the last day of Ramadan, you are still alive. Meaning for people who died earlier, who passed away earlier, meaning on 27 Ramadan, 20 Ramadan, they did not made it till the end of Ramadan. It is actually not compulsory for them to pay Zakat Fitrah. Okay, and what is the third condition? The third condition, they must have wealth exceeding. They must have wealth exceeding what they need for their basic supply or basic needs for that one particular day of Shawwal, on the first day of Shawwal, the first night and the first day of Shawwal, for that person or for his dependent. He must at least have enough money or enough wealth for him to live or to eat, for shelter, for clothes, for at least for one day, for that first Shawwal. If that person has enough money and to eat, for clothes, for shelter, for everything, for the first day of Shawwal, the day and the night, for him and for his dependent, meaning he qualified to pay Zakat Fitrah. Those people who does not qualify to pay Zakat Fitrah are those people who don't even have enough money to live their first day of Shawwal. Meaning they don't even have enough money to eat, for shelter, for clothes, for even the first Ramadan. Now, jangan cakap lah the second or the third one, kan? So if you have enough money for at least for you to live for the first day of Ramadan, the whole day and the whole night for you and your dependent, meaning you qualify to pay Zakat Fitrah. So that's the basic, the minimum requirement for you to pay Zakat Fitrah. So again, Zakat Fitrah only becomes compulsory upon you if you manage to live until the last day of Ramadan, until the setting of the last sun of the last Ramadan, and you have enough money for you and your dependent to live on the first day of Shawwal, and you are basically a Muslim. So that's the basic condition of paying Zakat Fitrah. So what else do we call? What's the other name for Zakat Fitrah? Okay, we here in Malaysia, we call it Zakat Fitrah. But actually there's a few names for Zakat Fitrah. Zakat Fitrah is also called Zakat on Individual. Or kalau orang Melayu panggil Zakat Badan. Meaning it's because of you. right? Because you are alive. Because you are alive as an individual Muslim, which is why you are supposed to pay zakat fitrah. It has nothing to do with excess of wealth. Dia tak ada kaitan dengan zakat dengan harta sebenarnya. So which is why zakat fitrah is actually under a different category, not the same category of like zakat on wealth, bukan bawah zakat harta. Because those people who must pay zakat harta or zakat on wealth are basically those people who have excess wealth. Dia ada lebihan harta tertentu lah dalam kata in certain categories. For example, you have excess wealth in gold. So maksudnya ada lebih harta dalam emas, kan? Meaning you exceeded the nisab, kan? But for zakat fitrah, it's basically, it has nothing to do with wealth, kan? Sebab the basic minimum requirement is that you have enough money and to live the first day of Shawwal, to live the first day of Shawwal. Basically, perhaps you are still poor. Buat besar kemungkinan kamu masih lagi miskin, tapi miskin kamu tu at least kamu boleh hidup lagi lah. Boleh survive lagi on the first day of Shawwal. And if you cannot survive on the second day of Shawwal or the third day of Shawwal, and you don't know what to, perhaps the next week kan pun kamu tak pasti lagi apa nak makan dan sebagainya, you still have to pay zakat fitrah. Kamu masih lagi miskin, tapi miskin kamu tu tidaklah sampai hari pertama Shawwal tu kamu tak ada benda nak makan for you and your dependent. So which is why zakat fitrah has nothing to do with wealth. So basically those people who are poor, they still need to pay zakat fitrah, which is why it is still it is sometimes called in Malay as zakat badan or zakat on individual. Okay, when is this zakat becomes compulsory ataupun bilakah ianya difardukan? This is among the first zakat to be formally, officially becomes compulsory in Sharia. It becomes compulsory in the second year of Hijrah. In the second year of Hijrah, of course during Ramadan. And what are the wisdom behind paying zakat fitrah? Again, like I say, it has nothing to do with you having excess wealth. Tak ada kaitan pun dengan kamu ni ada harta yang lebih, kamu ni kaya. Basically, those people who are poor, they still need to pay zakat fitrah. So, what's the wisdom behind it? Apakah hikmah dia sebalik bayar zakat fitrah ni? Sebab orang miskin pun kena bayar zakat fitrah. So when we look at it, and we can understand that behind zakat fitrah, there's a lot of wisdom. And first of all, it's kind of like a way for an individual Muslim to cleanse themselves. Ini cara untuk kita untuk menyucikan diri kita. Cara untuk kita menyucikan diri kita. Basically, the poor or the wealthy person, the rich people, each and every one of us, we all need to cleanse ourselves. And kita ni kaya ke, kita miskin ke, semuanya kita kena sucikan diri kita. Especially during Ramadan, when we fast, that there's no guarantee that we really fast with all its mengikut segala kata syarat-syaratnya, dan of course follow lah kot syarat-syaratnya, but to be accepted by Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, nobody really knows, right? But we want our fast, we want our sound to be accepted by Allah. Kita nak kita punya puasa itu diterima. And perhaps we did some small sins like mengumpat ke, membawang ke dan sebagainya, which actually does reduces the reward of our fast. So when we pay zakat fitrah, it's actually kita menyucikan balik, dan kita cuba buang baliklah dosa-dosa yang perhaps we did while we are fasting, yang kita mungkin ada buat waktu kita berpuasa. Secondly, the wisdom behind paying zakat fitrah is actually to say it's how we say our gratitude to Allah. Kan? Cara kita bersyukur kepada Allah. And like I say again, being thankful to Allah, being grateful to Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala is not only for those people who are rich. Bukan orang kaya je kena bersyukur. Everyone, basically each and every one of us needs to be grateful to Allah, kena bersyukur kepada Allah. Even though we may not be wealthy in terms of wealth, and in terms of ringgit, in terms of dollar, kita mungkin tak kaya sangat, but Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala gave us a lot of other blessings. Kita dapat banyak lagi, rezeki-rezeki lain kan, the oxygen, our wealth, our health, kita punya kesihatan. So these are the things that we should be grateful to. And so no matter whether we are rich or poor, kita masih lagi, we still need to be grateful to Allah, and to say this gratefulness to Allah, and cara untuk menyatakan kesyukuran kita kepada Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala adalah melalui, one of its way is to paying zakat fitrah. Okay, what are the other wisdom? Is of course to help those people who are in need. And of course, some people would say, I'm poor, I still have to pay zakat fitrah. But whether you realize it or not, there are people out there who are even more poorer than you. Ada orang yang lebih miskin daripada kita. Right? So, those people who don't even have enough money to eat or to survive the first day of Shawwal, yang ini, they don't need to pay zakat fitrah, of course. So, this is how we help them. And orang miskin yang lain yang tak adalah kaya sangat akan tolong pula orang-orang yang lebih susah ni. It's a way for us to re-evaluate ourselves, untuk muhasabah, tengok balik. Kita rasa okay, kita miskin. Tapi miskin kita ada jugalah makan, pakai, minum the first day of Syawal. And ada orang yang itu pun tak ada. So we want to help them. We want to help them. And like I say, to top up all of our weaknesses, and during the fast that we did, and the last Ramadan, macam saya cakap, kita puasa, but perhaps we did a lot of things that may reduce the reward of our fast, and so this is how we try to top it up, and kita try untuk nak tutup baliklah segala kekurangan waktu kita berpuasa dulu. And lastly, and menyuburkan kasih sayang dan mengeratkan tali persaudaraan sesama Muslim. And why we pay zakat fitrah? Of course, it's for our ukhuwah. Each and every one of us, we want to help one another. And the rich, they help the poor. The poor, they help the destitute. And those who are even poorer. So we want this culture, this attitude, this norm to be a norm in our society, especially now that we are approaching Shawwal. So as a way to say our gratitude to Allah, to say our syukur to Allah, and for having to celebrate this Shawwal, is for us to give up money and bagi duit kepada mereka yang memerlukan. So that's on the definition and the conditions and the wisdom behind zakat fitrah.